Well, hello everyone. I'm going to give everyone just a minute to join in and get situated. But welcome. I'm excited to be back in the saddle talking about Bosque del Apache next year. So, welcome everybody. And while you're in the room, why don't you tell me where you're from? Because I love to see where everybody comes from. So go ahead and tell me where you're from. And Linda Rodig, hello. Good to see you. We need to catch up one of these days. Good to see you. And you can always chat for anybody that's just joining, chat in the chat window. You can see it already going. And welcome aboard. I'm going to give everyone a minute to just settle in and then we'll get started. And so I am reading some of these places where everyone is from. We've got Baton Rouge and Oregon and Edmonds, Washington, Florida, few from Florida. Let's see, we've got from home Nebraska, from Maine. Welcome aboard. Good to have you here. And let's see here. What else do we have? Indian Wells, California, New Jersey, Cannon Beach. We got a lovely variety of here. I'm looking at all of them. I can't read them all out loud, but I am looking at all of them. Let's see, we've got Ontario. Welcome from Canada. And we've got Kitchener, Ontario. Oh, I've been to Kitchener. I love it up there. Uh, let's see here where we got Kentucky, Florida, New Jersey, Illinois. Hi, Janet. Hi, Darcy. Hello from Chicago. That's awesome. Michigan. All right, gotta love Michigan. That's my home state. So good to have you here. Marysville, Tennessee. Oh, another from Ontario. We've got Curtis and Cora from Wyoming, Massachusetts. We have quite the variety of people here tonight.
I'd say a lot of people here. That's great.
Yeah, it is great. It's good to see everyone. I know I can't physically see you, but it is great to have you here. And I can see your names in the chat and everything that you're telling me. We've got a wonderful group of people here. I see. Hi, Elisa, and that is from Marcia, who just joined us at our Bosque del Apache this past year. So welcome tonight, Marcia. It's good to see you again. Got a lot of great folks and a lot of messages that I'm still going through. Um, I will read those as I go along, but I want to get started because I know some people have things to do and places to be and all of that great stuff. I do want to mention that we have Mason on in the background. Mason's going to be doing kind of admin things and taking care of any questions or anything that come up. And I do want to mention something. If you have a question for us, please type it in the Q&A section, not in the chat window. So chat window is great for conversation, but if you have a question specifically, please put it in the Q&A section so that we can track those questions and make sure that they get answered. And that is much easier to do there. In the chat window, things scroll up quickly and we lose the question before I can even see it. So put it in the Q&A and that'll make sure that we can track each one. So I just want to say hi to Dan. Dan, welcome. Good to see you again.
Oh, great to see you too. Those 3 weeks went so fast. It was so much fun.
Oh my gosh, they did go fast. For those that don't know, Dan Walters here, who is on my left or right, depending on how you're watching this. Dan and I did Bosque del Apache, our photo artistry style workshops for 3 weeks straight in Bosque in January, and we had all kinds of different weather from freezing cold and snow to sunny and blue skies to beautiful overcast, soft light skies. We had some beautiful sunsets for silhouettes. There wasn't a day that didn't produce something unique to do our kind of creative spin on everything. It was pretty awesome. Um, I'm curious, Dan, did you have after, I know you haven't even looked at all of your photos, but did you have one that was a favorite of yours?
Ah, I think the one right behind me. We had
Yeah,
some amazing light that morning. I think too the snow that we had, and I think too was when each group kind of got into their own zone. So
yeah,
each person was doing their own thing,
yeah.
and it's just so fun to watch them, watch them learn and watch them, you know, it wasn't just birds in flight. It was just so much more too.
Yes.
Each place we went to, you got to experience the whole, whether it was Bernardo or Bosque, you got to experience the whole region. So I think that was really cool.
I agree too. And it was fun to watch the personalities of everyone come out in their own unique shooting style. And to be fair, we shot the same locations for 3 weeks straight, give or take. And yet everybody was producing unique things. And I'm sure all of you know when you go out in the field with somebody else, you're in the same spot in the same place, the same time, and you see things differently through somebody else's eyes. I literally just got done teaching a one-on-one class with a private client this afternoon, and I raced home and did this tonight. And they'll laugh because they're going to be listening to this webinar. But it was so fun. Everybody had the same tools and the same things that we were photographing, and the way each person would see them and come up with ideas. And I was really amazed by some of the unique ways they structured the subjects that we were doing. And it was just really fun to see the innovation. And the more you do it, the more creativity comes out. And that's what I really love to see. Each week, everybody grew from basics to really pushing the envelope in different things.
Oh,
Yeah.
exactly. It was fun watching all their images at the end of the week too. It's like
Yeah.
everybody came up with some stunning images. It was just so cool to see.
They really did. And I honestly should have asked them if I could post them here tonight. And lesson learned, I'll do that next time. So look out if you are joining this class next year. But it was really fun to see the innovation that they did. And I was impressed. And there were some real surprises. Like, I don't know. People just did some really creative things. And that's what I love. We facilitate this creative mindset, and I give people some tools to do that. And if any of you were on the workshop, and you want to say a couple words, type me a note and I'll, allow you to speak live, because it was such an impressive thing. And, Dan and I had, and Dan, by the way, co-led this with me for 3 weeks straight, in case any of you are coming in and not sure what happened, but this is Dan Walters. And, I was so touched. People were so moved by this
Hmm.
workshop. Dan and I both were really awestruck by this. But every single week, we had people who were tearful by the end of the workshop, and not because they hated it, but because they were so profoundly moved, and it helped their photography so much. It was a very emotional and um, I don't know how else to say it, just a very touching personal journey. And it was so fun to help facilitate. And by the way, there's my cat. But it was so fun to facilitate this experience for people. And Dan, you and I know we're pretty excited about what happened with
Oh,
those
exactly.
workshops.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's very, you don't see this a lot. And it's really neat to see. It's moving to see that.
It is. It is. And I remember one gentleman was a little caught by himself, being so emotional. And I'm like, no, bring it on. I love it. I wish more people could get in touch with that personal side and that
Right.
emotional side through all this. It was really cool.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, I think we have most of our folks here, and I'm going to go ahead and get started. And hi, Lillian. I see that you typed me a note, and Brian, and a host of other folks that I'm looking at. Hi, Marge. And so I'm going to go get started. I'm going to share my screen, and we'll get this party rocking and rolling here. So give me just 1 second. There we go. And let me roll the camera, so to speak. And by the way, for anyone just coming in, if you have a question, please just put it in the Q and A section, not the chat window, but the Q and A section. Then we can keep track of the questions. I'm going to pause several times as we go through this, and feel free and ask Dan or I questions, and we'll answer them as we can. Okay, so let me just make sure I can see that chat window in my other computer screen. And I'm sorry if my cat keeps coming up to me. He's just curious what we're doing tonight. This is Aspen, if you don't know, and he appears and disappears off camera. I'm pretty sure he just wants a treat. But anyhow, uh, so this photo artistry workshop, if you haven't heard about it or learned about it in the past, This is one of a series of different photo artistry workshops that we either are currently doing or have planned for the future at different locations. And photo artistry is a little bit of a different take on the traditional photo workshop. If you go to Alaska with me, I will do my best to teach you some different techniques, but it's primarily let's get the great animal shots, the bears, the birds, all the things, the landscapes, all of that. Photo artistry, in Alaska, by the way, we go, go, go and do a lot of really cool things every day. And I see some people who've been on my Alaska workshop, like Lillian and others, and you know how that is. It's an awesome experience, but it's a little more traditional photography. And where I can, I will push the envelope. Photo artistry specifically is a workshop that is designed to really bring out the inner artist in you. I pay less attention to traditional calendar, competition, magazine style photographs, and we pay more attention to the creative styles, things that might look really good on your wall, things that are pushing the envelope in some different ways. And every day I introduce something new that will help you push that envelope and help you get into that mindset. And so we are often breaking traditional rules, whether it be with exposures or subjects or post-processing tips and techniques, to literally just pushing that creative questioning and that true play that you all love to do, but on a workshop, you don't often get the chance to just slow down and play and experiment. And what I like to say is what if, and give people time to think through different what ifs and start playing with their photography. And Dan and I work with everyone to kind of bring out the best in that and help
Mhm.
with thoughts on composition and exposure and so forth. And Dan, I'm really curious. We had a lot of different people go through this workshop over those 3 sessions. Is there something that really stood out to you with something that maybe you taught someone or something that is really a highlight for you?
I think when people started getting the panning,
Yeah,
and then you saw that because they weren't sure they were getting it, and then when they got their images back, they got some.
yeah,
And I think a lot of people were it's like, I'm not getting the panning. It's like, just keep trying, keep going, you'll get it. And sure enough, they'd get those images. And I thought that was very rewarding as an instructor when they got those images. And then it's like they got some great images.
yeah. I love the panning, and I have some samples of that somewhere in this presentation tonight. But I love the panning style with the slow shutters and those gauzy wings, and
Mhm.
everything just takes on that painterly look. But it is one heck of a difficult thing to do. And I don't think we had one person in those 3 weeks, and I know I didn't last year either, that couldn't get it. It takes a while. It takes some practice and discipline, but the skills for that actually help all of your bird and photography as well. But yeah, that's a highlight. We really help you get those slow,
Mhm.
gauzy shots that are very challenging to get. Yeah. So that's your favorite?
I think that's one of my favorites because everyone was just so hooked on that. They wanted to get
Yeah,
those panning shots. And then, because sometimes you can't always tell on the back of your camera if you got those shots or not.
that's
Until you
so
get home,
true.
it's like, oh my God, I did get them. This
Yeah,
looks great.
it does. It does. And I think for me, there's so many moments, but for me, it was everything from like the little breakthroughs, like, oh, I finally understand, it might be aperture or something. Those technical skills are always nice too, but me and high key is one of my favorite, and we had some killer light for high key on that workshop. And so when I saw people find the light and find, get their exposures dialed in, get their settings dialed in, and actually make some beautiful high key images, that was my personal win. So I love
Yes,
that.
yeah, that's always fun too.
It is. So that's a little what this workshop is about. It's a different spin, it's a different pace, it's a different mindset from, okay, go out and get all the pictures of the bears or the wolves, or I just got back from doing a workshop in Yellowstone the night before last. And, I mean, that's fun too. And I love to take it to a creative place, but this is like, don't come if you only want to get good magazine and calendar shots, because this is not the workshop for that. That we you can do that, but we're going to take you a whole lot further than that. And so they're designed not only to enhance your photography skills, but really transform the way you view and capture the natural world. And I think that was one of the things that stuck out to me when people kind of summarized what they got out of this workshop at the end. And it was like a mental transformation. I was really excited to see literally everyone have that aha moment and that shift in mindset with their photography. Would you agree, Dan?
Oh, definitely, definitely. It's an eye opener for us too when they get it too. It's just like that is so cool when they get that. It's so rewarding for us as well.
Yes. And I just noticed that Lillian, who attended the workshop, I forget if it was a year ago or 2 years ago now, Lillian, but she typed in here, I came home with 35,000 photos trying to get panning down. And she laughed at that. She goes, there is no doubt this workshop changes the way you view and capture the natural world. And she said it was 2 years ago. And yes. And Dan, I don't know what cup you have, but somebody typed, oh, Linda Rodig, she typed that she loves your cup.
No,
So
that's the
what do you,
Alaska mug.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Awesome. All right.
Gotta have my
So
coffee.
gonna need it. All right. So next year in 2026, we'll get to dates and times and all of that and as we go. But next year, Dan and I will be leading the workshop again. Mason comes too, but he's more in the background. You know, we've developed a lot of things. We got a lot going on. So Mason is gonna step back and do some of the emails that come in every day for me and all the business related stuff. He is doing a lot of that now. So he'll be around. You'll get to see him, but Dan and I will primarily be in the field. And one of the reasons why I chose Dan, we've been photography friends, oh my gosh, I don't know, 10, 15 years, a long
At
time.
least.
Yeah. And I'll let you introduce yourself, Dan. But I have to say, before he does, the reason why Dan and I are paired up is first of all, he puts clients first. And that is so important to me. I just heard from a photographer today during the one-on-one session I had how they're so tired of going to workshops and the leader just sits in the best positions and takes all the photos and occasionally throws out a tip or two, but
Hmm.
basically you're shooting along with them. They're not facilitating and thinking ahead and walking around and asking how you're doing or if they can see images that you've shot to help improve something, or they're not there to answer questions. They don't do a lot of active instruction. And I take the work and workshop seriously. And, I've tried different assistants over the years, but I really think Dan has risen to the top. You will notice that when he goes, just like me, we care a lot about what you're doing. We certainly will take our shots, but not at your expense. And Dan and I work really well together because we're constantly thinking of new and creative things. And hey, what if we did this? Or why don't we try that? Or look at someone's camera and go, hey, now do this next, and we just
Hmm.
put a lot of effort into helping you on this journey of photography. So Dan, I'm going to let you introduce yourself, but I had to say that because it's been really fun
Well,
working together.
oh, thank you so much. I really enjoy it too. I'm here out of Lakewood and Colorado, and I mainly I specialize in bird photography. So that's kind of what I concentrate my own workshops out here on. But it's so fun to lead with Lisa too because she doesn't just open up everybody else's mind. She opens up my mind too about different ways to lead and different ways to teach people. And that's really important to me too, is making sure that you guys come away with the images that you want to get. It's not about us. I mean, we'll
Yeah,
get our shots, when everybody is in their comfort zone, and that's when we'll get our shots. But in the meantime, if people have questions or if people need help, we're going to be there because not either one of us do not want to sacrifice your shots for us. So that's one thing we do not want to do. We would both feel horrible if, we got the shots and you didn't. No, that would not sit well with either one of us. So it's important that everybody else gets the shots and not us.
exactly. And you're going to get a lot of shots, but we
Oh,
want to help
definitely.
facilitate. Yeah. I think a good analogy is, or an example of this is we were sitting actually it may have been the day that you shot the photo behind you, Dan, and we were sitting there and the light is changing and we knew what was going to happen and we had to get everyone in the position. And then we're also encouraging people, once you get it from here, go over here and do this and move over there and try over this and, moving around quite a bit to get different looks as this light, this warm, beautiful light is so fleeting. And with the
Hmm.
steam coming up, like that is very rare to have that. And we wanted to maximize it. And there was another group of photographers. I don't know if they were on a tour or not, or workshop or what they were doing, but they were all clustered together, probably within a 10-foot range. There's 5 or 6 photographers all clustered together, all down on the ground. And I was saying, and they never moved throughout this whole morning of
No.
shooting, they never moved. And I said to Dan, I go, I don't know what they were doing, and maybe they had very good reason to do what they were doing. I said, but I think I know who's instructing them, and I won't mention names, but I said they never moved a bit. That leader never told those people to, first of all, stand up, because for this kind of light, you need the layers of the birds. Getting
Hmm.
down on the ground is the wrong move for that. And they never had people move. So there was different groups of birds and different light, and it made me sad because their leader probably said, you got to get low and you got to sit here and shoot the birds. And, that's great for a shot or two. But then all this other stuff was happening and they never moved a bit. And what I like about you, Dan, and you're similar to me in a lot of ways, and we do push each other creativity, is we're both seeing different things. We're putting our cameras down and
Right.
looking out there going, oh, let's get them over here, or try this, or try this next, or looking at the images and going, okay, now go over here. Or we might say, hey, there's birds in isolation over here, check out this. And we're always trying to give you ideas. You can take them or not, but we're trying to think ahead so that you get the best stuff instead of just sit down and shoot that, and that's all we do. And it's just this whole experience should be very different from a lot of things that you've done. And I take that ethic with me in all my workshops, but I just want you to know you'll be in good hands.
Definitely
And
good hands.
yeah. So here's a shot of high key with panning, by the way, in the background with the soft, blurry, kind of gauzy wings. But some of the things that we're going to be teaching you, this is just some. There's a lot of additional things that happen at this workshop, but I don't want to make this webinar 20 hours long. And I see some questions. Put your questions in the chat window, or excuse me, in the Q&A window, so that, because that'll disappear in a minute, and we'll get to those questions in a moment. So for some of the things, these are some of the highlights. We're going to definitely capture birds in flight. If you're not sure how to do birds in flight or you need to work on that, this is a good workshop for you, because we spend a lot of time working on that and working on the slow shutter panning, which this is a high key one, where it's all light and bright and gauzy, but we're going to work on that. That is one of the signature things that we spend a lot of time doing so you can get it right. Because if you don't know exactly how to do it, a lot of people say, well, put in a slow shutter and track the bird. Yeah, that's not it. There is much more to this. And if you don't know exactly how to do it, you won't end up with anything much other than an occasional accidental hit, right? And I want you to know exactly what you need to do so that you can get it. And even when you know exactly what you need to do, including Dan and I, we do this really well. It's still a low hit rate kind of thing. So we
Hmm.
want you to also give yourself grace with it. But this is a signature thing that we will be, or a highlight, I should say, that we will be focusing on so you can get these beautiful shots no matter where you go. We're going to also spend a lot of time reconceptualizing you, retraining your brain in many ways, or adding additional training for your brain in how to use light, shade, composition, form, and exposure. We throw a lot of the things that you have traditionally done and think about, we kind of turn them on their ear. And what I like to think of it is not that we're throwing out what you know how to do, but we are adding to it. It's like learning a second language. You know English pretty well, I would assume most people on the line. But now if you had to learn Spanish or French or Portuguese or whatever language you want to learn next, we are adding to your skill set, not taking something away. So you'll already know how to do many of the basics or beyond that you've learned in the past about exposure and composition and so forth. We're going to add a whole new language to that. And that's what I get really excited about. We're also going to be doing some intentional camera movement
Mm.
and really playing with this, not just in the, oh, let me go up and down or sideways or even shake it up a little bit. We're going to really make you think about things that you wouldn't normally do, ICM, which means intentional camera movement. For those that haven't heard of that, it's intentionally moving your camera in one or more directions while you're photographing to get a certain look. And I have some examples later on that I'll show you. But we're going to spend some time with that because not only does it create beautiful images for your home, but it also can be something that you can combine with your traditional style images in several different ways. I won't get into all that tonight, but that's something that we play with. We also, of course, work on the high key style photography, which is my favorite. And Dan, you do some killer high key work as well. I know you love it. Uh,
It's fun.
it is. It is. We're going to work on that too. And we're going to still do some things with silhouettes. You know, some folks don't necessarily know how to photograph a silhouette, and that's going to be a beautiful part of the photography piece, but maybe we'll give you some different ideas and thoughts on how you can do some creative silhouettes. We'll also do some abstracts, and I am personally a huge fan of abstract photography. To me, it's the redheaded stepchild of the photography world. It doesn't get a lot of credit. A lot of people joke about, oh, that I got an abstract because, I dropped my camera and I took a picture or whatever. We joke about the pictures that don't turn out like, oh, that's an abstract. But I want you to really be thinking about what an abstract is and how it can be used. And I find so often, and I have, I think, an example or two that I'll show you in a minute of why abstracts are so incredible. And they're incredible when you use them the right way and when you photograph them the right way. And again, we're moving beyond calendar and competition and magazine style photography and into more of an art realm. And that's where I really love to live. So that's hence why we're doing this photo artistry. But you'll be experimenting with that as well. And then I also, it's not heavy, but I will introduce some post-processing techniques to incorporate along with your artistic photos. We'll be using some textures, manipulating color. Um, Towards the end of the workshop, everybody brings in a couple of images and we work through those and talk about what you can do with them, what you might try for fun. We've experimented, we've come up with some fun ideas just, ad hoc in the classroom. And that's been a very, I think, powerful part of what we do. So we will be doing all of that. And then lastly, yes, we can certainly shoot traditional nature and wildlife photographs as the opportunities allow themselves, but we are not just going out in the morning for magic hour light. I mean, that's great when you get it, and I'm not against that. But I don't want you to be like, well, the magic hour's over, or that's all we can do to get the great shots. And we're not going to do that. In fact, sometimes we use light that is absolutely contrary to what people think good light is. And I'll show you how to do it in a way that makes your own magic. So you don't have to have one magic hour. You can have them all day long if you think about it the right way. So that's the goal here. Um, and so the venue, we have two. One is Bosque del Apache, which is a national wildlife refuge in Socorro, New Mexico. That is and it depends every year how much time we actually spend there, but in more recent years, the birds have been much fewer because of the fact that there's water issues in the water table, and the water has become salinic, and they can only take so much water from the Rio Grande. They have to allow a certain amount through. And because of the saline in the water, the corn that they normally grow to sustain the birds over winter isn't growing. It gets maybe a foot or two tall and then stops. So they're experimenting with some other crops that are a little more salt tolerant to see if the birds will still come. But this place is epic for a lot of things, including other wildlife, certain scenery and landscapes, such as the place that you're looking at right here, and others. And so we will visit it, but it probably won't be something we'll go to every day unless the bird numbers have changed next year. But don't worry. We have an alternative plan that's actually spectacular. And so the other venue is the Ladd E. Gordon Waterfowl Complex, or commonly known as Bernardo. And this is another location similar but different than Bosque del Apache, but the bird numbers are really good. And so we're going to be going here as well. And it has a completely different scenery as Bosque, some overlap, but it's a very different place. But the birds are phenomenal. And so we will be spending a lot of our time there. One's about 30 minutes south of Socorro, and one's about 30 minutes north of Socorro in New Mexico. And so we also will have the downtown area, which, depending on the group and the tastes and the weather and other things, offers us some other opportunities. There are very old mission churches. The oldest, I believe, Catholic church in the country is in the city of Socorro. There's a lot of history here. It's an interesting town. It's a poor town, but it has some neat photographic nuggets in there. So we could spend time doing that as well. So that town is going to be where our home base will be. If you're thinking of joining the workshop, a couple things regarding physical fitness. This question often comes up. First of all, it is flat. We're not climbing up and down, hills and mountains. It's for the most part flat. Uh, if your footsteps have to go more than, I don't know, 10 feet uphill or downhill, that would be a whole lot. Usually I would say it's more like 1 foot up or down. Roots and grasses and rocks and things, but it's flat. I would say the physical level would be, on my rating scale for all of our workshops, a 2 to a 3. It's easy to moderate. Very easy would be sitting in a classroom listening to me talk about something, and then it goes up from there. But I would say easy to moderate. We do have some walking, but it's typically not real far. I would say a tenth of a mile at the most, and that is a long distance. It would most likely be less than that. A lot of it's like a little chunk at a time. Okay, I'm going to walk 10 feet over here, and then I might walk 50 feet over there, and then go back to my car. We're not like putting on our hiking gear and going hiking down a trail. It's pretty darn mo easy to moderate. Um, Most of it is accessible if you have a scooter, or a motorized wheelchair or those kinds of things. Most of it would be. This one little area here where people happen to be standing in used to be kind of the only area to go, and they've opened up more areas. This is flat, but you'd need a motorized wheelchair that, has some teeth to it and is designed to do an unpaved trail. But a lot of the things are roadside, or very short trails, that are pretty stable. I mean, it is not a hard workshop. However, be prepared for lots of standing. We might stand for 2 hours I mean, that's probably a long, but let's say an hour in a place. So do be prepared to stand. We do bring little stools, that are, I think they support, I don't know, 300 pounds or something. They're sturdy. We do have a few of those stools that we bring for everyone. I bring 8 stools, and I think 3 or 4 sturdy camp chairs, the kind that don't collapse on you when you sit down. So we do have those if someone needs it. The elevation is, it depends up here, 1,300 to 47 feet because you're going to be driving. But for the most part at Bosque, plan on about 35 to 4,000 feet, somewhere right in that range. And I mention that just in case anyone has, breathing issues. I've not had anybody be, too troubled by that altitude. We're not up at 7,500 feet or something like that, where usually people have problems. And as far as the physical fitness, or excuse me, the photography skill level, hands-on instruction, Dan and I talked about that. It helps if you have a good working knowledge of manual settings. It's not that we can't get you there if you don't, but it does help to know those basic skills. But again, we will help you if you don't. But we also will provide you with some tutorials ahead of time that you'll be able to watch and gain those skills or get more comfortable with those skills as you go along. We also send in, once you register, this is very important. Once you register, If you snag your spot, you will get a confirmation email. In that confirmation email is a link to a document that we want you to download and read through thoroughly. It has all kinds of tips and help and what to bring and how to pack and how you get from point A to B and fly in and fly out, all of that. It's really important that you read that confirmation email. I get a lot of people who email me, I didn't get this or that or questions of things, and I think they just missed the email. So read that confirmation email once you get it. It'll have a link to that document with everything that I can think of that you would ever need to know in order to plan and arrive at the workshop. Small group size. So each workshop is limited to 8 attendees. Um, we find that that's the perfect number. It's enough diversity that people, kind of collaborate and get different ideas on things, but it's small enough that with 2 instructors, we're always right there to be able to help. So 8 people total on our workshop. So travel, just the highlights of this. You have a couple of options. The airport you'd fly into, Albuquerque is where most people certainly choose to fly into. It's an easy airport to get in and out of and get to the workshop. Albuquerque Airport, the Sunport is about 60 to 75-minute drive to Socorro, and it's an easy drive. You get out of the airport, you hop on I-25 south, and you're there. Like it's literally one turn and you're there. It's very easy. You can, depending on where you're coming from, maybe El Paso is an easier route for you. The El Paso International Airport is a 3-hour drive to Socorro, and it's on main highways and interstates. So both are doable. Albuquerque's just closer, but you might find a better fare or something coming from the other way. And our workshop will begin at 4 p.m. on day 1. So we have 3 different workshops we're doing in this location. We'll get to the dates in a few minutes, but it'll start at 4 o'clock. So you have the whole day to travel and get there. And if you decide you wanted to extend your stay on the front end or back end of the workshop, we can accommodate for that. We'll just connect you directly with the hotel. The hotel knows who I am and what we're doing, and they will allow you to extend your reservation. Certainly, you'd pay for that separately, but we can work on that. So if, you wanted to come and spend however much longer, you can certainly do that. Ground transportation. So in this case, we find it has worked best for a variety of logistical situations. If you drive your own vehicle, whether it's your own car or a car that you rent, that just seems to work out best. And we'll talk more about this as it goes. But we can rent a car if you like. You can do it in Albuquerque. It's like I said, 75 minutes, or El Paso. One of the things I cannot coordinate it due to insurance, but whoever registers, there is a question in the registration process that asks if you're okay if I share your contact information with others in the group. And whoever says yes, I put you in touch with one another and I'll let you take it from there. But if you guys decide you want to talk about carpooling or, I don't know, dinner or whatever else, that's on you, but I will certainly put you in touch with one another, everyone in your particular week, if you'd like. And then, like I said, carpooling, I'll send you that information here. All right. So once you arrive at 4 o'clock, we'll start our meeting, and it's a combination welcome dinner and instruction. And so we'll kick that off with the welcome experience and dinner. We actually cater the dinner in. We'll give you a menu in a restaurant that you'll order your food from in advance, and we'll bring that in so that I can combine that with instruction, make it a little more efficient for you, and meet everybody. We'll do a meet and greet, have some fun. It's a fun evening. And then every day we'll have breakfast. So we meet in the conference room at 5:50. I should have put AM, but 5:50 AM. I provide some breakfast snacks, granola bars, power bars, or protein bars, some water, muffins, whatever, a variety of different foods as breakfast snacks. You're certainly welcome to grab whatever you want at the store too. I do that because at 6 o'clock they open for breakfast. But we really need, in order to take advantage of the morning light and to get out there, we need to leave by 6:10. And because the hotel doesn't start breakfast until 6, that doesn't give everybody a lot of time. So I start at 5:50 with the snacks. If anybody wants them, you can certainly, there's a refrigerator, a microwave, a Keurig style coffee pot. There's stuff that you can do in your room if you want, but we just don't want anybody hungry. So we'll give you all that. I also bring some of those disposable hand warmers if you need that,
Mhm.
um, and so forth. And then lunch and dinner, I'll get to the schedule more in a second, but lunch and dinner are on your own. I've tried it both ways in the past, and the best way truly has been to let folks do their own meals for lunch and dinner. The reason being, we have often people with different dietary issues. We are in a small town. There's a bunch of Mexican restaurants and a few different ones that you can try that are not Mexican type food. But I know trying to get 8 people plus two assistants and Mason into some of these restaurants that don't take reservations is really hard. Asking for, seating for 10 or 11 is a challenge, and getting that reservation they just don't do. And then finding something that works with everyone's different dietary restrictions. And beyond that, a lot of people are just tired and they want to go relax in their room and either get something carry out and pick it up, or have something delivered, or, eat a sandwich or whatever they want to do. The grocery store is just a stone's throw from the hotel. So a lot of times people will go and pick up a few things and just keep it simple at night. So to kind of honor what everybody needs, this seemed to be the best way. The lodging, this is the hotel that we're staying at. It'll be 5 nights lodging included in your registration. So the night you come, all the way through day 5, which is our last instructional day, and then day 6, which is the last day of the workshop, is truly so that you can spend the night and then travel the next morning and have the full day ahead of you. We've learned over time that that just seems to be a really great um, offering for people. So we've added that extra day so you can stay at the hotel, have time to pack and leave. The checkout's at 10 o'clock, but you can leave and get back to the airport and fly home in plenty of time, fresh and ready for your travel. We do have single and double occupancy options. So if you wanted to come with a friend or a spouse who is participating in the workshop, you can save a little money by choosing that shared option. If you want to reserve a single, right? The single reservation rate with the workshop. So you'll register for one person or register for two as a shared. If you just do one person, no problem if you want to bring a non-participating spouse or friend. They're not accompanying us on any part of the workshop or anything like that. But if you want to carpool with someone and then give them your car to go drive around all day doing whatever they want to do, that's fine. But you'd have to arrange that with your fellow group mate. But we do offer those single and double occupancy options, and your spouse can come, or friend or whoever can come with you at no charge as long as they're not participating in the workshop. Your rooms are standard rooms with two queen beds. I always say one for me and one for all my photography stuff, but it's so true. Standard room with two queen beds, mini fridge, coffee maker. It's usually the Keurig style, and a microwave. And then I personally think these rooms are very clean and comfortable. The beds are comfortable. It's probably the nicest place in Socorro of the options that they have. The other one is the Holiday Inn that they have there, but I think this one's better. And it has a conference room, and I reserve the conference room the entire time we're there so that you can use it as a meeting space with another group participant if you want to just sit down there and edit together, or we can use it as a snack room or impromptu meeting, whatever. I have the conference room the entire time. There is an indoor elevator, so no matter what floor you're on, you don't have to worry about climbing stairs. Breakfast starts at 6 a.m. The conference room, of course, we have, and there are a variety of restaurants and stores within a 5 to 10 minute drive of the hotel. including a nice steakhouse that's
Mm.
adjacent-ish to the hotel. All right. So before I go any further, I want to just look at some questions that have come up. Mason, are there any questions based on what I've covered so far that I can answer?
Yeah, we have a few questions I can read to you.
Okay.
I'll just go right down the list.
Okay.
Linda asks, when is the best time to visit Bosque?
Oh, that's a great question. So January, but in all fairness, Linda, I chose January because, in my personal opinion and experience, I have photographed at Bosque since I think 2016. So it'll be 10 years, and I have a lot of experience there. I've taught a lot of classes and workshops and a variety of things, and I think personally, January offers the most interesting weather,
Mhm.
fewer people, and more birds. So January is why we do this. By the way, if you go any later than, I think it's February 15th, they stop feeding the birds then. So you don't want to go too much later than that. Good
Very good.
question.
All right. What will the temperatures be like?
Hard to predict exactly. Normally, I would say in the morning, plan on 15 to 25, and by, you know, 10 o'clock or so in the morning, it warms up into the 30s and 40s. You can get 50s and 60s, sometimes even more. It varies a lot. We're in the high desert in the south, so you get a lot of different weather patterns. But this past year was extra chilly. We had temperatures at zero a couple of the days. That is unusual. That's when that polar vortex or whatever came through the US last month and like froze everything. So that was unusual, but it honestly produced some incredible light, including and atmosphere, like the shot that Dan had behind him. But I just say dress in layers. If you plan for the weather, you're going to be covered. So, in your registration will have a list of what you should plan on bringing and all of that. But zero or so is probably the coldest I've ever seen it in 10 years of being there. But normally it's, I would say, mid-teens to mid-20s in the morning, and that's morning before dawn. And then as soon as that sun hits, you can just feel it start to warm up. But it can be rainy, it can be sunny. We had snow several times when we were there this year. It's awesome, honestly, because it gives us so much variety.
Absolutely. And just to add on to that, I just pulled it up. The average temps in Socorro for January is 52 for a high and 22 for a low.
Okay.
All right. This is a kind of a big question. I don't know how much you want to get into this, but please explain high key.
Oh, yeah. I have some examples. I tell you what, I'm going to go through some examples and talk about the different types of photography that we'll do. So if you can hang in for that, high key. But high key, just in short, is very light, bright, typically white backgrounds. Like, where's the one that I just showed you here? Somewhere back in the depths. There we go. So no, there we go. This picture behind here it's a whole bunch of things. It is a slow shutter panning shot and high key with all this light, bright, and very subtle detail in the birds. I have many different examples, but I have another one that I'll show you as we go along. But it's my favorite way to shoot. I love shooting this style. Go ahead, Mason.
Absolutely. James asked, do you spend any time at the VLA for night sky, etc.?
Yeah. James, we've looked into it, and though we may add something like that as a separate workshop, because it takes an incredible amount of coordination and extensive permissions, and we do have the permission, but it's a challenge to shoot all day, drive an hour up to the VLA. Shoot in very cold temperatures. And for anybody that doesn't know what the VLA is, it's called the Very Large Array. If you've ever seen the movie Cocoon from, I think, the 80s, and they had all
Contact.
those, or Contact, thank you, not Cocoon, different Wilford Brimley movie. Um, but the movie Contact with all the big radio dishes, that's that location. It's pretty amazing. But at this point, because of the cold temperatures on top of really long shooting days, we're not planning. We may have in 2026 an opportunity to do some night photography, but we are still working on those logistics. But we're not going to have it at the VLA because of the distance. If you guys want to go on your own, please go, but realize that you can't get into the VLA. You can drive some of the roads nearby it and get some of those dishes in the distance. But at this point, we don't have a plan to do that yet.
Okay, Kathy asks, a while ago, Lisa mentioned plans for a webinar about Heike, a learning opportunity not on site anywhere. Any updates?
Yeah, so oh my gosh, I just finished my last workshop. Well, I have Cowboys coming up here in a couple, I don't know, a week and a half. But as soon as that's done, Mason and I are, and Dan too, have been working on my online instruction courses, and we hope to have something for you by April. So fingers crossed, we will have that. High key is one of my top priorities for that class, and we will be sending out an email announcement with those classes so that you know and can register. So stay tuned, but I promise you it's coming. We've been trying to work really hard at getting that done.
All right, next question. Are you going to cover gear? I'm a landscape photographer and I don't use a really long lens.
Yeah, I can definitely talk about that. I don't know if I have a slide on that. I might. I've been gone all day and haven't had the chance to revisit my slides. But in short, what I recommend I call it the short, the mid, and the long, or the wide, the mid, and the long. So you may want some things with a wide angle. There are situations where we will use that. And I say wide angle, it doesn't have to be like, an 8 millimeter fisheye or, the 12 to 24 or whatever. But if you have something in the 24 to 70 or 24 to 105 range, perfect. And then I recommend a mid. And what I mean by mid is like the 50 to 400, 50 to 250. Every brand and model has their different ranges, but something that covers roughly that range, 70 to 200, something like that. And then I recommend a long lens being something at you can get away with 100 to 400, but to be fair, if you have something that ends in a 500 or a 600, that's going to be better. It doesn't need to be a prime. You can do a zoom or something with a teleconverter. I shoot with my Tamron 150 to 500 with my Sony A1. I adore that combination. It's so sharp. That's what I use. But and a lot of people come with a 500, something that ends in 500, but zoom is typically nicer than primes just because it gives you a lot of flexibility. But you bring what you're comfortable with or what you have. And if you don't have something, then I would even suggest renting something for the time that you're going to be here and bring it with you if you're not sure it's something you're going to use all of the time. And another route to go if you're looking at saving some money without sacrificing quality is to look at some of the Tamron lenses. I am a Tamron image master, so I'm biased only because I get to shoot with them all the time, and Tamron honestly makes really great stuff. I've been shooting exclusively with them since 2017, and I have not had any issues. They have been beautiful. You see my work out there. It's not soft, it's not weird, and it doesn't have chromatic aberration or some of those things. The reason that Tamron can make the lenses less expensive is because that is all they do. They don't make, cameras and video equipment and, I don't know, medical equipment and printers and all the other stuff. They make lenses and they make more lenses exponentially than the other camera companies combined. And they do it every month, millions and millions and millions of lenses. So they get to do a really good job at something that a lot of other companies can only sort of, do some of. It's really amazing what happens behind the scenes. I've learned a lot about that. But anyway, consider that as another option. And they do have rebates online. If you type in Tamron rebates, you'll see instant rebates available for different times of the year and what's available at that time of the month. So that might help too. All right, Mason, question?
All right, next, in 0-degree weather, how long are we standing outside?
It depends, and your cars are right there. So if you needed to hop in and kind of warm up a little bit, you can. We stand out there, we get there at blue hour and we shoot through the sunrise. And by that point, once that sun comes up, it really does warm up quickly. I haven't had a lot of problems with that. It's chilly in the morning at 0, but that is not common. But if we do, we do, and we push through it. And I always recommend layers, and you'll get a complete gear list when you register. But layers, hand warmers, especially the kind on the back of the hands, those little electric ones are great because your blood comes through here. And that's what's warming up your fingertips, not holding on to them with your inside of your palms. The veins aren't there, they're back here. So those and gloves, and I have some glove recommendations. The heatcompany.us is phenomenal for cold weather gloves. I just got back from Yellowstone. We had -13 and I was totally fine. Good warm boots. But layers, I dress in layers. Sometimes I have 3, 4 pairs of pants on, and with my rain pants as my outer layer because they break the wind. You want something that breaks the wind. And even if it's not windy, that will protect you so much. It isn't just about rain. And then layer up. I mean, I have a heated vest that is also, Mason talked me into it. That is a game changer. So consider a heated vest as well. But don't do
I was
heated.
thinking a lens cover too.
Oh, yes, lens cover. Good
Yes,
thinking,
definitely
Dan.
a lens cover
Yeah,
because we
definitely.
had snow the last few times we were out there. So
Yeah,
definitely want to keep that.
good
For sure.
thinking. Yeah.
And,
And
and
you,
I can add, we're always pretty close to our vehicles. If you get too cold, you can just
yeah,
walk over to your car and warm up.
exactly.
All right, Lon had a question. You had mentioned sunrises. How about sunsets later afternoon?
Yes. Yep. We will stay for every kind of sun position, except maybe midday sun. We're in the classroom, and I'm going to get into that in the schedule. But we do stay, uh, you know, weather conducive. If it's, dangerous or pouring rain or something, we probably won't. But we do stay through sunrise all the way. And at the end of the day, we do shoot the sunset and after sunset. There are some blue hour shots that we will get to. And then Mason, I'm going to go through this a little bit more and take some more questions.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. So this is kind of what our day will look like. Day 1, you come from 4 to 7. That's when our workshop opens. We do the introductions, and then I do instruction after dinner in our conference room. And that's to kind of get in the right mindset. We teach a few techniques to get started. And then days 2 through 4, this is pretty much what we do. 6:10 a.m. We meet at 5:50 in the conference room for breakfast, and people always need something, hand warmers or change of batteries in the walkie-talkies or whatever. But we'll meet from 5:50 to 6:10, and then at 6:10 we'll leave for photography in the field, and we caravan. We try to carpool where you can, but that's up to you. But we'll caravan. And then from 9 to 9:30, or these times are approximate in here, but if there's something epic, I'm not going to force people to leave. But by and large, we'll leave sometime between 9 and 9:30. We'll return to the hotel in Socorro. And then from 10 to 12, we have instruction in the conference room. And that's where we teach techniques. We review any questions and things that came up while you were out there today that you didn't think to ask when you were in the field. And then we have that time for 2 hours. Then from 12 to 2:30, you take a lunch and break on your own. You might be downloading images, charging batteries, taking a nap, whatever. And then from about 2:30 to 5:45, we'll go back out and shoot in the field. 5:45 because sunset and blue hour are over by then, or right around then, depending on the week that you're there. But we definitely shoot through sunset and into blue hour. And then we return to Socorro for the evening, and it's dinner on your own. So once we leave the location that we were at for photography, you're free to either follow us back to the hotel or break off and do your own thing at the whatever restaurant you choose to go to. And we have a list of restaurants at the hotel. I don't send that in the email confirmation with your little booklet for what how to plan, because the restaurants come and go in Socorro like the wind, and they're open and closing like the wind. So whatever I tell you now is going to be different next year. But there is a list in the hotel that you can pick up. And then, of course, things like Google. On day 5, The morning looks similar to what we do every other day, but the afternoon will come back at, 9:30. We'll come back during that time frame. And then from 9:30 to 2 is your time. You can prepare some images for our final image review, take lunch, take a nap, whatever you got to do. And then from 2 to 6, we'll be in the conference room working on image reviews, Photoshop tips, questions, anything else that has come up. And then we have a little closing exercise, and then everyone is free to go for the evening. Day 6, we don't meet. This is entirely your day to do whatever you want to do. Checkout is at 10 o'clock, and you're free to take that day on your own. So the last time we see each other, unless we bump in the hallway, is day 5 from 2 to 6 p.m. And here's a few things that people have said about this workshop. This was recent. This is by Marcia. Marcia, you're on the line tonight. She said, Lisa, number one, Lisa, Dan, and Mason were available to us for any questions. They did not hide away. That is rare for a photo workshop. I was impressed. Lisa is very organized and she did not waste a moment of our time. Our hotel was centrally located in the town of Socorro, albeit small, met our needs for grocery shopping and dining out. It's a good location for our photographic pursuits. Though the temperatures were frigid, the warmth radiated from all souls who participated. Thank you, Lisa, Dan, and Mason. Very nice compliment. And I am not filtering through these. These literally were just the things that people have said about this. I didn't go pick favorites. And by the way, I've never not had a 5-star in all of my years doing workshops, except for one guy 1 year who gave me a 4-star because we had bad weather. So even though can't control that. But everyone else, thankfully, has been 5. Here's another one. Excellent. The informational lectures, abundant wildlife, and supportive environment enabled me to take my photography skills to the next level, exceeded my expectations. Highly recommend taking a class with Lisa. And that was from Susan. And then the last one I put in here is from Julie. It was a fun and organized educational workshop. Lisa and her team go above and beyond to assure participants are prepared prior to the start date with webinars, educational videos, and frequent reminders about what to expect and how to pack. I was satisfied with the level of instruction and creative ideas. Lisa and Dan mingled with participants during our outings to assuring we came home satisfied with the images we captured. Late morning classroom instruction and photo reviews were a nice break from the cold weather and offered variety to the day. I highly recommend Lisa's workshops for intermediate to advanced photographers. So you can read more on our website, but that just gives you a flavor of some of the different people who just came off this workshop, last month. So what do we capture? This is where I talk about all the different styles. So yes, absolutely, you can do traditional wildlife photography like this, sandhill cranes, blue sky, nice front lighting, lovely. We don't say you can't, but I want you to come up with more stuff. And so, yes, we will work on silhouettes and we'll teach you how to do that. I don't consider silhouettes like way deep on the artistic end, but they are a really nice thing to do here. The silhouette opportunities are beautiful. So we will certainly take advantage of those. But in addition to regular silhouettes, I'm be pushing people. Photograph what else is a silhouette? Like this beautiful tree with these pink skies. It was so pretty out there. This is going to be gorgeous. If you hung this on your wall and printed that out, I think it would be stunning. And if you don't like the pink and the purple, we could change it up to match the color template in your room. So these are other things that I like people to start thinking about. Where else does an image really fit in well other than a magazine or calendar or competition? And living rooms in hotels and office spaces and bedrooms often have a lot different type of demand for an image than does a calendar or competition. What works well in a living room doesn't usually work as well for calendars or magazines or competitions. And so I'm really going to push people to think in different ways about where their images are going to live and what rules by which they're judged. We're used to competition and calendar and, photo contest kind of rules. And I'm going to be pushing your mindset into some different sets of rules that aren't usually talked about as much. So we can get into really fun and cool, not really abstracts, but different kinds of looks. And, yeah, you might go, well, what am I going to do with that? Well, in the right space in an office or hotel lobby, that can be beautiful. Here was a reflection that we played with. And then I really played with the contrast to make this sort of standalone. And I think personally, why not break it up? Do some red and white, break this up. You could go on and on down this wall, but thinking differently about what you can do with your images. Or things like this, just a stand of trees, but with the right light, you can really create some fun stuff and abstracts. What if we printed that not on a piece of paper or put that in a competition, but maybe we had it printed on wood? There are printers now that do beautiful jobs printing on wood. I think that would look gorgeous in the right room, that kind of barnwood look. It's just beautiful. Intentional camera movement, where we're moving the camera up and down. Break this up into a triptych and hang it on the wall. It'd be stunning in the right room. But then I teach you how you can take multiple ICMs and we can do fun things like this. And so it's really pushing your mindset in different ways. This is also ICM, and look at how painterly and canvas-like it looks. But using the right light, the right places, and the right techniques can really help give you some fun things to do. Here is high key. So for the person that was asking about high key, here you go. And by the way, hi, Warren. Warren just came into our webinar, and I was just with Warren in Yellowstone last week. So welcome aboard, Lauren. And so this is an example of high key photography with the very white backgrounds, the light details, and it just has such a different look and feel. And I just love it. You can go on my Facebook page or Instagram and see some other high key. Look for the things that have a pure white background, and that'll give you a sense of high key. But here are some different exposures. This is not the exposure with your meter at 0. And Warren, you know, because you were here with me last week, how we play a lot with exposure in Yellowstone. And this is quite overexposed. But in the right light, the right circumstances, a different type of exposure can really bring this wonderful icy looking water and the detail and the birds and the juxtaposition of warm and cool. And also, I put the tree in the center. Instead of, the traditional compositions, we can play with other stuff. That's just one little example. Here's one again, more traditional. I am not going to say you can't do that. There are times when all of us do that because that's the perfect light for that situation. But there's also times when just photographing a tree in the snow can be stunning, and and things that often get overlooked. And that's what I really work with people on, are all the things that get overlooked. Dan, do you remember when we photographed that little icy patch in the little where that pond was? And we sat
Yes.
we sat there for like an hour and a half.
So many cool things in there.
Oh,
Everybody was just in that spot and they wouldn't want to leave.
no.
We
It,
found
it
so many different subjects to photograph right there.
we did. And I have to crack up because it happens to us multiple times on the workshop. Somebody pulls up, what are you photographing? Oh, that stick. And they look. I was in Yellowstone last week, and we were looking out at a field, and I was photographing the sagebrush in high key against the snow. And this guy pulls up to me, and he's like, "What are you shooting?" And I go, "Well, there's some bighorn sheep right over there." But we were done with that. We turned around and we're doing some, kind of artistic landscapes because I didn't want
Hmm.
to try to explain high key. And he literally shouted to me, "I'd rather kill myself than do that." And I'm like, "You're missing out because there's some really cool stuff over here." So, like
Wow.
having
It's
this, I know,
amazing how people get that way.
I know it, and I'm like, you are missing the whole
Yeah.
boat because there's so
Uh,
many cool
I'm
things.
missing the point.
Yep, exactly. And I would never want to be that sad about landscape photography. So,
No.
but here's an example of the panning, the slow shutter, gauzy, get the birds' heads reasonably sharp, but everything else gets gauzy. The background blurs out. It is the best way to shoot in a crappy background situation. And it just makes everything so beautiful and
Hmm.
surreal. This is what we work all week on to get shots like this. But oh, it when it comes together, it's like candy. It's awesome. Here's another one where the geese are just flying, and it gets this very soft, pretty type of look. Um, somehow a gull got in there, and I don't know how that one got in there. We don't shoot gulls at Bosque, but you get the idea. Here's another one of the sandhill crane coming in to come into his friends and see how the forest and the weeds and whatever is back here, it just gets soft and blurry. The head is sharp, the wings are real soft. That was shot at 25th of a second. And here's another one, just that soft, gauzy kind of look. And then we work on some things you would never think of. So this is just the scene. It was a pond. It was frozen. But what drew my eye were all these little balls of former sunflowers and the juxtaposition of warm and cool. So then we did a little bit of intentional camera movement. I love the texture with that. Break that up into a triptych, put it in a room with some warm and cool tones, which is not hard to find these days. Beautiful. Or playing with different ICMs, sweeping the camera in different ways with these Phragmite. It was beautiful. Playing with different types of exposures. This was not lit from the sun coming from here and going this way. It was actually backlit. Look at all the shadows over here. But playing with exposure, and these are shadows from some other trees too, but playing with exposures, playing with the dark side, playing with a lot of different light can really create some fun things. This was at blue hour. Wasn't even the sun up yet, but really playing with exposures and longer shutter speeds. These birds were all sleeping, and the ice just got gauzy, and this little bit of steam in the atmosphere. It just created a very lovely, warm and cool scenario. Overexposing, using atmosphere, backlighting, fog, just really pretty things. These are the things that I love playing with. Turning things to black and white and seeing what happens. Slow shutter panning shot of this flock of geese going by. So pretty. This is a high key. So the person that was asking about high key, notice all the light and bright colors, the lack of super deep shadows, the contrast is flattened out. It's just very peaceful, almost watercolory look. This was shot on a cloudy day. This was shot at blue hour, but look at the beautiful tones that are pulled in there. You may not think this looks special against a white background, but when you put that into a bedroom or living room that has touches of lavender and this beautiful kind of reddish color and some darker tones, this is going to jump off the wall and look stunning. But it's all about the light or lack thereof and how to use it. We'll talk about shooting with textures. We'll talk about all kinds of things we'll have you shoot textures and we'll show you how to play with them in post to get some really pretty gauzy looks. So the workshop dates for 2026, this is what you're waiting for. So the first workshop, and people will ask me all the time, is there a better one? Is the first one better than the third one? It is a crapshoot, right? It's all about weather and birds and all of that. This is why I picked January, though, as opposed to November or December. January, in my experience, is personally the best for what I do. Maybe for other workshops, and and I've been there during other times, it may be better for the traditional light or something like that. But oh my gosh, this time of year is perfect for what I do. So January 7th through 12th, 6 days. Remember, the 12th, the 18th, and the 24th are just departure day. 7th through 12th, 13th through 18th, and 19th through 24th. Small group, 8 people. We include a pre-workshop webinar. This will be just for registration folks only, and this will be a Q&A webinar, but also just getting your head in the right space to do some creative photography with us. We will include some pre-workshop tutorials that you can benefit from if you're not sure on, manual exposure, things like that. It includes your welcome dinner. It also includes, I bring snacks and breakfast items and beverages like usually water, maybe some sparkling water, for all of your breaks. And there is usually chocolate and cookies too, I have to admit. Your lodging, so your own hotel room, depending on what you choose, single or double occupancy, the classroom and field instruction, and then a post-workshop webinar. So once you've participated, you got your images. We do some image reviews there, but we also know that you want to pour through your images even more. We'll do another one when we're done. It'll be a show and share, And then also everyone can submit an image they would like us to provide some post-processing demonstration or tips with. The cost is for a single occupancy, $38.95 per person. If you're sharing a room, it's $36.50 per person. And that is double occupancy for two registrants for the workshop. If you just need to bring a friend who isn't joining, choose the single option and then just bring them along. There's no extra charge for that. They just share your room. But if you need two participants, there is a little bit of a discount for that. We do offer payment plans, so it's not all lump sum. And that is, you can choose it or not choose it, but it's there. And then if you type in your credit card, you just automatically get billed when that payment is due, and we break them up. The class opening or the registration will open, mark your calendars, this Thursday. So Thursday, February 13th, day before Valentine's Day. February 13th at 7 o'clock Eastern. And I typed EDT. This should be Eastern Standard Time. Nobody's on any kind of daylight time right now, so I apologize. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m., 6 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Mountain. Also, it's 5 p.m. in Arizona and 4 p.m. Pacific. The registration will open. I highly encourage, if you're dying to go on this workshop, that you are online pushing that refresh button at the time, whatever time zone you're in, because I know from last year's experience, it goes extremely fast. So jump on it, get it, find your dates that you want, and go. It's just a fun workshop. It's one of my favorite things to teach and do, and I can't wait to have you a part of it. And Dan, I know you love this as much as I do.
No, it's so much fun. I love going out. I can't wait to go out again. I'm
I
ready.
can, I am too. I really am. I am going to stop the PowerPoint part, but Mason, can you bring in any questions? I know there's a variety of questions that people put in the chat window. Oh, by the way, if you have questions, make sure they're in the Q&A box, not the chat window.
Absolutely. We had a couple people ask if there's an option for not staying at the hotel.
Um, I don't I'd have to look into it. You would need to register. Like, I don't have time to sort all that out yet. I would have to see if I can. It would take some logistics on my end to see if I could get a hotel room canceled. Um, and to be fair, it would probably be a detriment because we meet in that room, the conference room, so much, and we have, meetings in there for instruction and all of that. I I mean, unless you live local or something, I wouldn't recommend commuting from another hotel, or some people camp, but it would probably just be easier. The rate includes your hotel, and I would probably just do that. I'd have to look and see if I could even get another option at this point. But you
Sure.
can email us privately and we can ask, but I wouldn't be able to have it sorted out in time for registration.
Absolutely. Linda had asked, I have a Sony RX10 bridge camera. Is this suitable for a trip like this?
Linda, good question, first of all. Yes, I think it's suitable. However, I'm not super familiar with the strengths and limitations of that camera. I'd have to do some research, but I always recommend bringing a backup body, a second body for sure, even if for convenience. So you can have two things around your neck or two things in the car that are easy to grab if you need a short lens 1 minute and a long lens the next. I wouldn't suggest coming with just one body if you can avoid it. A second one is always going to help. Um, the limitations without looking at any of the specs on that camera, because I know Sony makes some nice stuff. I shoot with Sony too. Um, one of my one of my wonders with that is how quickly it can track. And also, I believe that is a lens with or a camera with a built-in lens is how much zoom you can get out of that. There may be some things in the kind of edge cases that it may not do as well, but I don't know that for sure without looking that up. But if you want to email me, I can try to, if you want to send me the specs to it, I can try to evaluate that for you.
All right. Has anyone used infrared in this workshop?
No, but be my guest. I would love to see that. I don't have a lot of experience with infrared. I haven't converted I have Sony A1 and it's hard enough to just buy one, let alone get two and then convert a third one. But I would love to see what you can do with infrared. That'd be exciting.
Yes. We have a question about cancellation. What is offered in case of cancellation?
That is a wonderful question. So, when you register at that point, and there's some options, but at that point, that money becomes non-refundable because I have to pay the hotel and a variety of other things. However, as you go along, you will have a payment plan, and I don't have that in front of me at the moment to know exactly what those dates are, but it is spread out over the course of a year. If you cancel at any point, any of those payments that you will have made as the year gets, further in, those become non-refundable. However, we often have people that cancel for different reasons, and I realize that, it's a year out, and a lot of people don't know what's going to happen in a year. You can cancel, and we have several options. The first thing I would highly recommend is travel insurance, not just because you may not be able to come and you want to cancel, but it also helps in the case of medical emergencies and other things that can be really valuable. So, first option, use travel insurance. And, if you decide one day you just don't want to go anymore, there is a cancel for any reason option on travel insurance. It does cost a little more, but that would be your first and best option. Second option is we can attempt to resell your seat. The further out it is from the workshop, the easier it is for us to find someone who will take your place. There's a small fee for us to do that because it does involve some expenses on our end that we need to recoup. But if we sell your seat, we will refund you minus those minor expenses. You can also find a friend that wants to take your seat. If we're not involved at all, we charge even less to make that transfer. I don't believe there's any charge to that. I'll double check my policy. It's so sorry. I don't have people do that often. They usually leave it to us to resell, but there is a minimally expensive option. If you got a friend that wants it, they pay you back, right? They pay you that we're not involved in the money at all. We just need their information as long as they, can register and agree to all the terms and all of that, that's fine. Um, and so you do have options available to you in that way. If for some reason we cannot sell the seat at full price, and this happens every once in a while, it's close to the workshop date. We can't find someone who's free to go. Everybody makes plans, and a lot of times closer to the workshop date, people are not available. If we can't find someone, sometimes we will discount the seat to try to find someone to get you something back. But if that is not possible, and every once in a blue moon, it isn't possible. We literally, I mean, I've been to the point where I'm calling people personally on my phone going, "Hey, Joe, are you interested? I got this person." And if we can't sell it, then I can't refund anything. But we really do our best to try, but travel insurance is always your best option. Mason?
All right. Linda sent info in about her Sony Bridge camera. She said the range is 24 to 400 equivalent.
Okay. That would be the minimum as far as magnification. It's not that you can't do it, but there are things that you might want more reach than that. But you also know your camera and what you expect out of it, so it might not be a problem. Like in Dan's picture, if you're looking at his backdrop, I mean, these birds were you could have shot that with a 70 to 200. These birds
Oh,
closer.
yes, easily.
Yeah. So sometimes the birds are really close, and other times they're farther away, like anything. I mean, someday they'll invent the 50 to 2000 millimeter lens, but until they do that, we're stuck with what we got. So I would say, yes, many things are photographable, but there will be times where birds are further away and those just, they won't be as close, but it certainly wouldn't prohibit you from doing things. And I'm also a fan of whatever lens you have on, you have to learn how to think with what that lens is best capable of doing. Same with the camera. And when you start thinking and you know your strengths and limitations with that gear, then you can think creatively within that space. I mean, I do that all the time. So there's that, not everything is about magnifying every bird that's far away and making it close. There's a lot of other things we can do.
Well, while you're talking about that, We had a question, will you have any Tamron lenses available to try?
I am going to try and see. I was not able to get any this year, but I will certainly ask them for next year and see if we can get some. It often relates to conferences that are going on around the company, and they only have so many lens kits that they can loan out. So when you register, if I am able to get those, I'll certainly let everyone know as soon as I get word back, but it's unclear yet whether or not I'll be able to do it. I don't know what their conference schedule is quite this early out.
All right. For the beautiful images of single birds shot at 1/25th of a second, were you using a tripod?
You can, but you don't have to. Yeah, both ways works. It just depends, I think, a lot on personal preference, and also how long we've been doing it. If you've been out there for an hour doing this, panning the birds, your arm's going to fall off. So, yes, but not required.
All right. Can you repeat the brand you mentioned for good hand warming gear?
Oh, I don't know if I know the brand. I got them on Amazon. Let me see if I can find it really quickly.
Isn't it Hot Hands?
Oh yeah, the
Yep,
disposable
I
ones
think it
are
is
hot
hot hands,
hands.
Sam.
Yes. Yep, hot hands. And if you want the electrical ones, I mean, there's a variety of different ones on Amazon. If I let me
They
look
also
really.
have the toe warmers too.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, the hand warmers that I got, very, very descriptive brand. They're called, oh no, here's finally the brand. Gutimo. Gudimo, I don't know. Gudimo classic hand warmers. They keep charged for about 3 hours and keep your hands warm, and they are $20. So that was a Amazon purchase, 4.5 stars, and I love them. I actually bought a second pair, just to make sure. So if one, you know, dies on a charge, I have another one. Gudimo, Gutimo. I'll put that in the chat window.
We had a couple questions. Are we going to offer any other photo artistry workshops outside of New Mexico?
Yes. Some locations that we are considering. Uh, Mason, should I share this yet?
Oh, I think we could just say we are looking at other locations. We don't have anything in stone as of yet.
Yeah, we do have some other plans, but yeah, you'll just
But
have to
we'll,
look at your emails and we will announce it as soon as we can.
all right. I know we're getting close to the bottom of the hour. How many more questions would you like to answer?
Um, what would be the ones that are the most general application to everybody? Is there any that you could say?
Yeah, we can do a couple more. Will you consider doing an online course for ICM?
Yes, that is in the works.
Okay. And you talked about travel insurance. Do you recommend any travel insurance in particular?
Sure. And this is not from personal experience. This is from people who have taken my workshops and they have told me these places, and I might need to just take a second and look at that. Mason, I'll put it in the chat window if I can find it. Feel free and ask other questions if you can in the interim.
Okay. Um, another workshop question. I think we've gotten most of the questions that I think are for the workshop itself.
Okay. All right. And I'm still looking to see if I can find that travel insurance. Uh,
I'm with USAA and they have a good travel insurance too. So if
oh.
anybody's with you, you have to be part of the service or your family part of the service. But if anybody is connected with USAA, they have some pretty good travel insurance too.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Excellent.
and Lisa, the chat window has not been functioning tonight.
Oh, well,
And
that's really weird.
yeah, so we can put it in the recording email possibly.
And I'm seeing
Sarah,
some messages come up, but I'll
yeah,
paste this here, and if we can get it to you in the recording too. Um,
apparently we can see them, but nobody else can see them.
yes. So there is a travel insurance option through our registration system. We are not affiliated with it. I don't get kickbacks like some companies do. I don't want to have that be the determination. So no kickbacks, but there is one through our registration system that you can add on to your registration. And then there's a list of other ones that I pasted. We'll send it in the information when we send the recording as well. Do realize that travel insurance varies widely. There are some tools you can use that I paste in there where you can look some up. And you do usually need to get travel insurance within a short window after you purchase something. Some it's, I don't know, 24 hours, some it's 7 days. You will have to decide, but don't like wait until the week before the workshop or the second you know you don't want to go anymore to try to get insurance. It is something, if you've never done it before, you need to do it shortly after you register for something. All right. Um, and someone's saying we can see the chat, so I don't know. Might
Yeah,
be.
so apparently, I guess it's working for some and not for others.
Okay. All right. So, any other questions that I should answer? I know some people probably need to go, but some people may not. So,
No, I think we've covered most of them.
awesome. Well, my friends, I really appreciate you coming. I am so glad. I'm going to put in the chat window Thursday, February 13th. And the time, let me just double check that so I don't give you the wrong time, is 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. And that is going to be when registration goes live. We will send out an email with all that information. Um, and 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Mountain Time and Arizona, 4 p.m. Pacific Time is going to be when you can register. We'll send out that email, and I can't wait to see who comes. We are going to have an awesome time. Any final words, Dan?
No, you won't be disappointed. It's so much fun going out there, and you learn so much from all of us. We learn from you, and it's just a fun time. You get to just open your eyes up, and like Lisa said, just play.
Yeah.
That's the fun part of it. You just play. You just have fun.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun. It is, and it's moving. It's just I am always overjoyed when we finish a workshop and everybody is just truly moved and changed and inspired by it, and I know we've done a good job when that happens, and a few people even cry. So, but on that note, everyone, thank you. Appreciate you being here. Mason, thanks for handling things in the back end and setting all this up. Dan, thanks for being here tonight. And
Thank you, everybody.
yeah, everybody, thank you. Appreciate it. I'll see you hopefully Thursday when your name shows up in the registration. And if you have any questions, feel free and email us. We will be happy to do that, and we'll send out the recording tomorrow. Have a good night, everyone. Take good care.
Have a good night.
Bye bye.